I'm Tristan, and this is Thinking About Politics. So today, we're thinking about Arizona Congressman David Schweikert, representing Arizona's 6th congressional district since 2011. Mr. Schweikert posted like a really weird video after the attacks of January 6th. It's so weird, it really made us wonder out loud, what is up with Congressman David Schweikert? And turns out, he may just be the most corrupt sitting member of Congress. And we're going to get into all of that, but before I do, please take a moment to like or share this video, maybe give us a subscribe. That'd be awful nice. Let us know in the comments below what politicians running in 2022 need greater scrutiny. Okay, so I just called Representative David Schweikert potentially the most corrupt member of the current Congress. And that just sounds like the sort of thing people say on YouTube, right? Like no justification, no backup. But what I want to point out to you is I'm only saying this because this guy got dinged by a bipartisan commission and admitted to violating at least 11 House ethics rules. He paid $50,000 there, and he just got dinged by the Federal Elections Commission for another $125,000. The House appointed a subcommittee to look at this corrupt member of Congress, and according to Politico, that subcommittee interviewed 18 people, including former and current congressional and campaign staff. It issued 4 subpoenas and said Schweikert at times gave untruthful testimony and, quote, self-serving statements. So, put those terms in the back of your head. Self-serving statements. Untruthful testimony. According to KJZZ, the Phoenix area NPR affiliate, the committee found substantial reason to believe that David Schweikert violated House rules and federal laws. What this means in plain speak is that when the hard-working people of Scottsdale, Arizona donate their money to David Schweikert's political campaign, their money might be being used for things like babysitting for David Schweikert, or other personal expenditures. So all that is just background information here. Just keep that in the back of your mind as you watch this video. This is a statement David Schweikert issued a couple days after January 6th. We are going to jump in and try to point out where Rep. Schweikert is engaging in theatrics or omitting details to create a deceptive image. As always, there will be a link to the Congressman's video below. Let's begin.
So, on the 6th, I was probably...
Alright, just let me pause right there and point out the obvious theatrics. Here stands Rep. Schweikert on handheld cell footage. I guess this is just such an impromptu video he forgot to take his mask off before they hit record. For clarity's sake, you all understand that this is not just somebody shooting cell phone video, right? This is a carefully scripted piece of political theater. Every nuance, I'm sure, was thought out ahead of time. I just think it's interesting they had him start with the mask on and dramatically pull it off as he starts talking. What kind of messages do you think they might be trying to send there? I mean, personally, I wonder if maybe there was a whole portion of a meeting devoted just to the question of, does he start with a mask on or without? But just know that Rep. Schweikert knew he was about to start recording. He could have very easily removed his mask beforehand. This is a piece of political theater. His statement is going to go to lengths to try to create a feeling of genuineness, all the while skirting the genuine issues surrounding January 6th.
I was probably the 2nd member of Congress, maybe even the 1st, who came back into the Capitol.
Isn't it curious how Mr. Schweikert's first statement about January 6th here is to note how he was the 2nd person back into the chamber? What a hero, huh? Alright, the congressman wants you to know he was really eager to get back into the building. Okay. And
I thought this might be at least interesting for those who are curious. We're right now in the Dome because there's not a lot going on at this moment. And when I came back into the building...
All right, I'm sorry, I have to stop this again. But I just wanted to point out that Nancy Pelosi called the entire House back to session at 9 p.m. on January 6th. So everyone went back into the House. Even if you were the 1st or 2nd. All of your fellow House members were right behind you. Almost everyone must have arrived at around the same time or within a few hours of each other. But go on. You were trying to build a self-serving image of your actions on that day.
I actually had a big tray of coffees I was handing out to Capitol Police.
A big tray of... You had a big... What a hero, again. All right, I'll bite. How big of a tray are we talking here? I mean, you would have needed a ton of coffee. Was it just you? Did you have staff with you? How big were these coffees? Small, mediums, larges? Bring any decaf for people? It was getting late. I mean, were you actually holding a big tray of coffees? Did you actually go through the effort of preparing coffee for people? Or did you have a staff member buy coffee and then, like, you stood there and handed them to people for, like, you know, a photo op? I'm just wondering.
And when I got to the dome here, the entire area had Capitol Police, FBI, some ATF, even DC Metro Police, and the floors actually had powder everywhere. I'm assuming that was from the fire extinguishers that had been being sprayed.
That is an interesting assumption, and it might not be wrong. It's also curious how you're signaling out the use of fire extinguishers, though. I mean, it could have been residue from the many chemical irritants that pro-Trump Republicans sprayed at police on that day. Why would you mention fire extinguishers specifically, but not also mention that those police you were handing coffee out to were sprayed with mace and other chemical irritants, generally did not have a good day? I mean, look, I've been to college, I've been sprayed with a fire extinguisher, that's no big deal. I have a feeling that Congressman Schweikert has a political interest in minimizing the severity of the January 6th attack.
And I just remember some of the faces just looking exhausted. Happy to have the coffee.
In this video about an attack on Congress by a violent mob of Trump supporters, Representative Schweikert has mentioned coffee an awful lot. He's mentioned law enforcement a few times. No mention of the actual attackers, though. No mention of what actually happened and what their cause was. Have you noticed that? I don't think it's an accident.
But there was powder on everything around here. And it was actually much worse over here in Statuary Hall.
Believe it or not, Representative Schweikert actually has a point in this video, but this is all still preamble. He's trying to stack a deck. He's burying his true purpose. But that inability to state any facts of actual material relevance is about to get him into trouble. For instance, he's about to claim that everything in the house has been repaired. And then he's going to show you close-ups of the very front door where glass has been smashed in.
Most of the damage now has been repaired. We'll take a little shot over here, but that's still one of the doors that you can see smashing the glass.
Weird, right? Like, I didn't add those images. His staff put that there.
We have some other photos, though I don't know how appropriate it is to share them, of, on the house side, the entrances to the house having furniture stacked up.
So he's offering all these contradictory statements about, law enforcement being exhausted because they were getting sprayed with fire extinguishers, I guess, and how all of the property damage has been put back together, except for the broken glass in the very front doors that were smashed down. And now he's being cute about what happened in the House chamber. I mean, here are some pictures. Now, I'm not sure what David Schweikert thinks is inappropriate about these pictures, but it's probably that he doesn't want you to know how violent and extreme the mob that attacked Congress was. He probably doesn't want you to ask what their goals were, and he doesn't want you to know that he was complicit in this treason. This is a minimization tactic, and it's dishonest. People like this only do this because they think it'll inure them some sort of political benefit.
I think I was absolutely the first member on the floor of the House when they let us come back into the building.
Again, Congressman Schweikert is painting himself as some sort of hero in all of the turmoil on January 6th. I assure you he was not. In reality, after this violent attack that cost lives, Representative Schweikert took to the floor of the House and proceeded to vote against certifying the election of Joe Biden. That's right. After everything that happened, 147 Republicans, whose names are going to live forever right next to Judas, Brutus, and Benedict Arnold, voted against certifying a free and fair election. It is absolutely appropriate to question whether any one of those 147 people have any regard for democracy, America, or the rule of law. Now, these 147 were part of a coordinated effort to challenge multiple states. Among them, David Schweikert's home state of Arizona. But Representative Schweikert voted in favor of certifying Arizona's election. He thought the Arizona election was up to snuff. He was able to see through Trump lies about fraud in Arizona. However, he claimed that on the basis of some constitutional theory, he had to side against certifying in Pennsylvania. Again, there was never any legal basis to challenge any of the results in any of the states in 2020. And this is a position that's shared by many Republicans like Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell and Ron DeSantis. Representative Schweikert sided with the traitors on that day, and now he's trying to convince you that he is somehow emotionally moved by this. I wonder what his ulterior motive is. And just to recap thus far, Congressman Schweikert is no hero. In fact, his actions suggest a large degree of cowardice on his part, which honestly I expect from someone who engages in self-serving statements and untruthful testimony. So it all fits.
And they had actually even stacked up benches and other things on the entry to try to, I guess, slow down any type of access to the floor.
Congressman is very uncomfortable here. He almost acknowledged the violence of the pro-Trump mob. Almost by accident, he let the truth slip out. He guesses the furniture was being stacked up against the doors to stop them. No, he knows that to be the case. He's just engaging in historical revisionism. Congressman Schweikert's account cannot be trusted.
So, the place still has a bit of emotional overhang.
Okay, here it is. Congressman Schweikert is about to make his point here, and it starts with this idea that the Trump attack on Congress has had an emotional impact. That's what he's been building towards with this soliloquy, and that's his jumping off point.
And what's interesting from the standpoint, it's you see some wonderful sort of thank yous up on our doors and other things to the Capitol Police.
Okay. Positive responses to that emotional impact include putting thank you cards on doors. You can tell from his delivery and his body language that he approves of doing just this.
At the same time, the sort of now rush to do a demand of the 25th Amendment.
Rush to do a demand of the 25th Amendment. What do you suppose that means? Well, remember that the U.S. federal government is composed of three branches. You have your executive, that's the president, your legislative, that's the Congress, and your judicial, that's the court. The 25th Amendment sets a procedure by which the executive branch can remove its own head, where the executive branch, the members of the president's cabinet, can get together and remove a president who is no longer fit for office, who cannot discharge the duties of the presidency. Now, part of the duties of the presidency are to protect the country. Congress was attacked, and the president did not do anything. He failed to discharge the duties of president, and at that point, the inauguration still had not happened, and there was very good reason to fear that worse things could still occur. So, I don't know, rush to do it, rush is kind of a, I don't know, how much time could you take, right? And a demand, no. I think people in the executive were considering this. It's not a demand. Like, people were considering doing this. It's not a demand. People thought it might be a good idea.
Impeachment.
Now he references impeachment, which is the legislative branch's way of getting rid of an executive. Now, generally, it's not for malgovernment. It's for something like high crimes and misdemeanors, or treason, like attacking Congress. And notice the congressman is accidentally acknowledging that there is interest in both the executive branch and the legislative branch to remove the president after this attack. Notice how he's acknowledging that in sort of a tacit way.
Has just sort of kept the level of tension at a very high level instead of sort of going through that cathartic process of trying to understand what did we just witness, what did we just see.
And now the congressman's just lying. He says he opposes removing the president either by the executive branch or the legislative branch. He doesn't acknowledge why people felt that way or felt such urgency around Trump, nor does he say that their concerns are necessarily unfounded. His complaint is that this is all just too emotionally stressful for him. And this is key now. It'll get in the way of figuring out what actually happened. Except Congressman Schweikert would go on to callously vote against the creation of an independent commission to investigate the attack on Congress. David Schweikert voted against a House Select Committee after Republicans blocked the effort for an independent commission. David Schweikert has proven himself on multiple times that he is not interested in figuring out what's going on, which means he was lying when he said that that's what he was really interested in. Congressman Schweikert is siding with the terrorists who attacked Congress.
And how do we sort of get back to business, with the new administration coming in? So I thought we would come and just at least share a little bit of this with you. So thank you for viewing.
No, you did not come here to share. You came here to dissemble. You came here to lie. You came here to deceive. And you came here to squirm because you're caught in a difficult position of supporting pro-Trump extremists in your party who want to overthrow democracy and wanting to seem like, oh, I'm just a reasonable guy. Me personally, I don't think you can have it both ways, but it's hard to fault Congressman Schweikert. These are the kinds of dishonest and disingenuous, corrupt people we elect to office. So that's the tale of Representative David Schweikert. And up for election in 2022, let's see if his constituents care about the missing campaign funds. Let's see if they care that he's sided against America, against democracy, and against voting for your elected leaders. It's a tough record to run on, but if anybody can do it, I bet you it's David Schweikert. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. You've been great. I hope to see you again next time, but till then,
I ain't got time
keep
to
thinking.
kiss you now. I'm busy with this mule.